All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome to our sixth episode of Tenn Talk. Today we have on a lovely guest. My name is Harrison.
My name is Luke.
You are?
I'm Breana Hale.
All right, let's get into it.
So we'll start off by asking the question, what drew you to UT?
Oh, goodness. Well, I was in a position where I was ready to look for the next step in my career. Interestingly, my husband actually used to work for UT back when we met in Southern California. So he was kind of a regional admissions counselor. He would go around to all the high schools in Southern California and try to get students to apply for UT. And so he had a whole wardrobe full of orange. He was a big fan. He wanted to attend UT when he was going to college, but out-of-state tuition was a little bit out of reach for him. So he knew about UT. And when I was exploring, he saw the job opportunity open up for executive director for the Anderson Center. I've been running entrepreneurship centers at that point for 10-ish years or so, and knew that I loved the world of entrepreneurship centers. So he forwarded me the job opportunity and said, what do you think about Knoxville? And next thing you know, here we are. We're packing up the kids and the house and making our way over to Knoxville. And we've been here for almost 3 years. Love it. We're so thrilled to be here.
So you moved from California to Knoxville.
Well, I moved from Utah to Knoxville. So we were in California. I was working at the UC Irvine at the University of California system, running their entrepreneurship centers. Then moved over to Utah and ran an entrepreneurship center at Utah Valley University, and then moved out here to Knoxville.
Okay. It's a lot of moving.
Yeah. It is
a lot of
distance.
distance.
Moving. We're tired. I think we had like 5 houses in 4 years.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
insane. Yeah.
I would have expected you to be here longer.
Oh, really?
I wouldn't say you have much of an accent either.
Well, the y'all comes out every once in a while. But besides that, I try to kind of maintain my lack of accent as much as possible. I don't know about the kids though. I think it's kind of contagious, and kids pick it up that a lot quicker.
You have 2 kids?
I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Question I had was, when you left California, did you have any kind of clue where you might end up or where you wanted to end up? Like what your role might be?
I didn't. I knew that I loved working at entrepreneurship centers. I knew that I really loved being around young emerging professionals that had bright ideas and had a spark of inspiration, and I love being able to cultivate that and help guide them. I also knew that I loved community development and building networks and creating programs. And so working in entrepreneurship centers just made a lot of sense for me. And quite honestly, I can't really see myself doing anything too dramatically different than what I'm doing now, just because it's so much fun. It's sad, forming relationships with students and then having them graduate and move on. It's like a mom with her children leaving the nest. But every year we get new students coming in, and it's really cool being able to see them develop and grow over the course of their college career, and being able to say that you were a part of that. Like, you were part of creating an environment where they felt safe to dream, where they felt motivated and supported and encouraged and empowered, that I was able to provide some advice for them at maybe a difficult time or a challenging time. They were able to overcome something or felt brave to tackle bold challenges as a result of something that I did. And so that I think is something that I will need to have that in any role that I have in the future.
Mm-hmm. So when you first arrived at these different entrepreneurship centers, how'd you go about creating your network and making new friends and kind of putting your staple in the entrepreneurship community at those schools?
And I think that's a really important skill. And it's not something that kind of comes naturally, I think, to most, and it can be very challenging. The biggest thing is, I think, starting with your close network of who you know. So for example, when I came here, asking my team, who do I need to know? Who do I need to connect with? Do you feel comfortable making an introduction for me? Learning about the ambassadors here at the Anderson Center, understanding what type of other programs they're involved in, and who else that they're connected with that I should connect with. And then sort of expanding out from there and working my way into the community. I attended all kinds of events and programs. You start to see the same people again and again within sort of the ecosystem. And so understanding who are the key players, who do I need to know, and also just not being afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn or via email and introduce yourself. especially when you're new. I think a lot of times it's an advantage because you don't have a lot of history. You can kind of say, hey, I'm new. I want to just really learn about what you're doing. And approaching networking with a curious mind can be really helpful with no agenda. Just, I want to get to know you. I want to learn more about what you're doing. I think that is a really important piece of it. Just not being afraid to introduce yourself. And then another thing that I would say too is on the flip side, when new people are coming into our network, moving into the area, starting a new job at the university, new students coming in, being able to be a welcoming space for them and someone who's going to be a connector for them so that we can say, hey, welcome to the university. You need to also talk with these 3 individuals, and being the connector to make that email introduction or passing them off to the people that they need.
So it's a lot of connecting with people and then asking those people to connect you with other people.
Asking for connections, being one to create connections. Sort of, if you think about it like a spider web or a hub and spoke, kind of being that nucleus that can easily bounce around and create those connections, those neural networks, or those connections within the physical network.
Mm-hmm. Question I had was, do you see students struggle to build a network because they don't want to seem like they're coming off too pushy, or like somebody that they're reaching out to is too busy, or they don't care to help them?
I'm sure that that's a viable concern. I'm sure I had that when I was a student. I probably still do have that. You don't want to impose on someone. You don't want to come across as too aggressive or obnoxious or whatever it might be. I will say for students specifically though, people just really want to help. They're so eager to connect with students and to provide feedback, and they're honored to know that they are someone that students feel like they have something to contribute to. So if a student reached out to me and said, hey, can I grab coffee with you? I really want to learn XYZ. I would feel so honored that a student felt that I was smart enough or had something to contribute and some value to add. So I think a lot of people sort of address it that way, is we don't mind getting those emails or connecting with students specifically. Now, once you graduate, it's kind of a whole different story, and then people get their walls up and like, what are you trying to sell me? So I think another key to that is really being authentic in how you reach out. So it's not like, hey, I want to get coffee with you. It's, hey, I saw that you published this article recently and it really got me thinking about this. I'd love to get more insight from you on your perspective of this. Can we find a time to talk? And so just letting people know why you feel that they're someone that you want to connect with, and trying not to be too imposing. You don't want to take up too much of their time, so don't ask for a full day of just spending time together, but a quick phone call. In sales, there's a concept called the foot in the door phenomenon. So oftentimes you can ask for something small, like even just a response to an email, or hey, can I jump on a phone call with you for 10 minutes, just real quick, and get your thoughts on this. And oftentimes that'll lead to them being more likely to say yes to bigger asks down the road, especially as they realize that the person that they're talking to, the student in this case, is genuine, is authentic, is lovely to be around, and isn't trying to ask them for something really serious.
Mm-hmm. And we have another question about students. Since you have so much experience in the entrepreneurship center realm, if a student is interested in entrepreneurship, I know network is really important, but what should they do early on to kind of set themselves up for success? Maybe their freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah. I would say just get involved. And this is quite frankly something that I did not do when I was a student because I didn't know, and I wish I could go back and kick myself and say, Breana, get out there and get involved. Surrounding yourself with other individuals who are also interested in entrepreneurship is kind of a game changer, because it creates this sort of like competitive spirit. It's this mind melding. It's this encouraging others to think differently. It's exposing people to different perspectives. And entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurial skills are things that can be strengthened over time. So it requires practice. So I would also encourage students to experiment, to explore entrepreneurship, to come up with ideas, to talk to people about it, to fail often. One thing that I learned kind of in my last role is there's a big difference between lots of failures with like a small f, like a lowercase f, small failures, versus one big capital F failure. And the way I think about that is if you're failing often and you're practicing and experimenting and setting yourself up to learn and to iterate, you're going to experience a lot more failures, but they're going to be smaller failures so that you can learn from each one. Versus if you you're working kind of behind the scenes and you're putting all your time and effort and money into something before you start practicing, before you start talking to people about it, before you get feedback, it's going to be a much bigger risk. And when you do finally put it out there, everything you've been working so hard on, it's going to be a big capital F failure. And you haven't learned as you go. So I think practicing, experimenting, connecting with others, challenging yourself and challenging others. You can step into a mentorship role too, even as a student, as a peer, to continue really practicing that entrepreneurial skill.
Yeah, we've noticed that just getting involved in general has been really important, and trying new things and failing and then learning from them.
Yeah. There's one thing that I've heard that was, it's not a win or lose, it's win or learn. And so even on those moments where you lose or you're not successful according to your definition of it, you still can learn.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of pitches from being with the Anderson Center.
Yeah.
What do you think some important skills are for students who want to go into entrepreneurship and learning how to pitch, and what the Anderson Center has helped them with?
Oh goodness. Well, there's so much to unpack here. There's a lot of different types of pitches. It really helps to know your audience, to know what format of pitch presentation is going to be most effective. If you're just at a networking event, having a solid elevator pitch is better than anything. If you are presenting to a potential partner or an investor, you might want to have something a little bit more formally presented. If you're out at a lunch or a dinner meeting, you're not going to have like a whole PowerPoint deck to walk through. So you maybe having something on paper that highlights key points is important. I always like seeing presenters with charisma and passion who really care about, it's clear, you could tell that they care genuinely about the problem they're solving and they believe in the solution. That matters. Having a great compelling hook to hook someone in, especially on, for example, like a pitch competition where you're seeing 10 plus pitches in a very long day. They all can kind of start to blend together over time. So being someone who stands out with a compelling hook or a clear problem statement can make a big difference. And then the last thing I would say too, at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. So if you have traction, if you have revenue, I don't care if I think the idea is the worst idea in the world. If you can tell me that you are already generating money and you have customers and they love your product, even if I think it's the worst idea in the world, I'm not going to be able to argue with that. I'm going to say, oh, well, maybe you do have something there.
Yeah. I know a lot of students have a fear of public speaking, and just that's a big part of pitching,
not just
obviously.
Students, a lot of people in general.
Yeah. So how do you think people should get over that fear, especially what you've seen with students recently or just people you've worked with?
And it's tough because it is a genuine phobia. Like it is. So in some cases, it's just like practicing and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. But for some people, that's not even, they will not. And I understand that. Recording yourself and practicing even in privacy can help because at least that way you feel more familiar with the content.
Yeah. We've heard filming yourself and then watching it again has helped a lot too. Yeah,
because then you can sort of learn what you did well and you can see, oh, I didn't fall on my face and look like a total idiot. I actually sounded okay. And I think really that it's taking kind of a bigger picture look at it and taking a step back. It's really about recognizing that the people you're talking to are just people. It really doesn't matter. Like no one's going to throw rotten tomatoes at you. No one's going to laugh at you. And genuinely everyone in the room wants to see you succeed. They are rooting for you. They want a stellar pitch. They want a stellar product idea. They want to give, in a case of a pitch competition, for example, they want to give money away.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure that the person they're giving it to is awesome. So they're really rooting for the person presenting to be that awesome person. So recognizing that you have support, no one's rooting for you to fail. They're rooting for you to be successful. They're going to be helpful. And everyone also recognizes, at least in the case of students, that you're just a student. Not to diminish the fact that you're a student, you're brilliant, but you haven't been doing this for 30 plus years in most cases. So for many of them, it's their first experience with entrepreneurship. It's their first time presenting something that they developed and that they came up with, and sharing an idea is something that's so personal and scary. And so the audience recognizes that and is going to be supportive of you.
Okay. This question is kind of a pivot, but some students are, I would say some people are made for entrepreneurship. Some people aren't, but they're good skills to have. What would you say? How could someone take the entrepreneurial mindset into a corporate job?
In so many ways. In this day and age, it's critical that companies are nimble, that they are adaptable, that they are forward thinking, that they stay 12 steps ahead of their competition, right? You have to be able to move fast. You have to be able to spot opportunities and ideas. And all of those are qualities that are inherently grounded in the entrepreneurial mindset. Being able to take calculated risks, being able to identify new opportunities, being able to operate within ambiguity. Those conditions kind of define our working experience and the workforce that students are stepping into now, or even individuals who've been in a corporate environment for a long time. Companies want entrepreneurial thinkers. Companies want candidates applying who are resilient and who are open to feedback and who are asking curious questions and infusing creativity into the way that they solve problems. That you're not going to get that if you're very focused on doing something the same way that you've always done it. Also, companies constantly need to explore entering new markets or to explore new product lines. And anytime a company is developing something new, that is entrepreneurial. And so there's a concept of intrapreneurship, which is basically being an entrepreneur in a company. And the cool thing about that is that you've got access to much more resources, structure, infrastructure, team, human capital, an established brand. So it's really just a matter of being able to come up with a great idea and justify it, propose it, pitch it, right? We talked about the importance of pitching, and get the buy-in and support of leadership to give you the green light. And again, same thing, you want to try small tests, accumulate those little F failures kind of as you go before you do a big launch that maybe costs millions of dollars and blows up the brand. You don't want to do that. So you want to kind of try small with small experiments, generate a little bit of momentum, learn and iterate as you go. And companies who are too rigid to be able to stomach those small risks are never going to be able to innovate.
So with your passions and interests, how do you think you bring those into your work?
Yeah. So I really love personality assessments and strengths assessments, and I've done all kinds of them. I just took one recently, actually for a class in the PhD program that I'm a student in, called the Values and Actions, or VIA survey. It's a free survey. You could pay for extra reporting, but I think it does a good job of giving you a high-level overview. And so a couple of the character strengths that really came to the forefront were perspective, leadership, creativity, interpersonal skills. And upon reflecting on it, I truly believe that all of those strengths lend themselves very, very nicely to the work that I do at the Anderson Center. I need to be able to see the big picture and have a broad perspective of not just what we do at the center, but how it operates and serves a need more broadly within the landscape, the ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem, so to speak, within the region, within campus, understanding how students can help adapt their skills and develop their concepts and connect more broadly, and get the support that they need. I lead an amazing and talented team, but leadership is something that I really have to lean into in order to make sure that we're all operating effectively, that we're all doing the work that we need to do at the level at which the Anderson Center needs and our students and our community deserve. So I think understanding what your strengths are, and these surveys are a great way to do it. The Clifton strengths are a great way to do it. I'm future focused, achiever, like understanding the strengths that you have. I think they need to be flexed in the role that you do. And I also think, importantly too, if you're not leaning on your strengths, it leads to burnout. So I recognized too when I was doing this reflection, wow, creativity is one of my strengths. And there are many days that I don't get to be creative because I'm just in meetings all day.
Yeah.
I'm responding to emails all day. And there's not a lot of opportunity for creativity. I need to be developing. I need to be coming up with new programs. I need to be coming up with creative ways to partner. I need to be working with students and helping them creatively solve problems or designing new ways that they can connect and grow. And that's what fuels me. And that's what keeps me motivated in my role. So all that to say, understanding your strengths matters and being able to leverage them so that you can really succeed and get into that flow state at work and bring your best self to work, to family, to other obligations outside of, you know, your hobbies, your interests, your goals. Lean into your strengths.
Mm-hmm. That's a great perspective of leaning into your strengths, and that I never really connected that to burnout, but I could see exactly why. If you lean into them, you won't maybe burn out as much. Yeah,
one thing that I heard about too that I'm starting to try to implement a little bit more is really taking inventory of how you're spending your time on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis. And so, you know, is 90% of your time going toward administrative tasks or responding to emails or putting out fires and just living in a constant state of stress? And understanding, what can I delegate? What can I kind of deprioritize or set aside for now, and make sure that you're designing your calendar, you're designing your job in ways that are going to fuel you and light that fire and keep that fire going. And I think understanding, you know, where are my strengths and how can I apply them best in my role versus what can I give to others, or what can I just automate maybe? Like, I'm looking into AI agents and how can that help me better automate some of the things that I do, or understand what are my obligations and what does my calendar look like, and did anything fall through the cracks, and helping to really streamline the day-to-day work.
That's awesome. You said lean on your strengths. Where do you think you really honed your skill, like your strengths over your career, and what do you think students should focus on graduating with? Like, what are some important skills that you feel like they should graduate with?
Gosh, that's a great question. So how did I strengthen my strengths? I think it maybe just came out of, I choose to do the things that I enjoy doing. And I think we all enjoy doing things that we feel that we're good at. And so I will lean into opportunities. So I've always been someone who will raise my hand even when I don't feel qualified to do something, because in the moment I'm like, I could totally do this. And I think that that's an important quality, is put yourself out there for things, even if you don't quite feel ready yet, and you'll figure it out. I think everyone is still just figuring it out. Even the people, you know, running the meetings in the boardrooms and leading companies they're still just figuring it out too.
Yeah.
No one really knows what the heck is going on. So we're all just trying to do our best. But you have to raise your hand for opportunities, and I tend to lean into opportunities that I feel like would be the most fun for me, or that I feel like I could contribute to, even if I don't feel fully prepared. And then that's how you learn. You learn by doing. You don't learn by sitting back and letting other people do the things. So try those group presentations, put yourself in leadership opportunities, volunteer, sign up for roles that you didn't think that you could maybe do. So I don't know if that fully answered the question about how I strengthened my strengths, but I also really like reflecting. I like learning. I like to read and listen to podcasts and understand how other people are doing it. Okay. And there's no one right way. So again, constant experimentation, constant just trying to practice what you want to get better at. It's just like with a sport, right? You got to put in the work, you got to do the reps, you have to practice, or else you're never going to get better. In terms of the skills, you said skills that students can graduate with that will set them up for success. Gosh, I really love that question. I'm constantly impressed by the students that we have here at UT, because I reflect back on when I was a student and I was nowhere near where you guys are academically, socially. Your ability to present, truly incredible. I think being able to have a conversation with someone and ask critical questions, ask thoughtful questions, matters. Having a perspective where you could have a conversation with someone and really think critically, does this make sense? Matters. Trying to think, are there better ways of doing something and not accepting the status quo? So for me, entrepreneurial mindset, I always say, is optimistic pessimism. So you have to be pessimistic in a way that you can identify problems. A lot of times we're told, don't complain about things. But I think entrepreneurs are people who can easily identify problems. This is inefficient, or why are we doing it this way? Or just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean it has to continue. And this is too expensive, or this doesn't make sense. And so asking those questions and identifying problems, but with an optimistic lens, and recognizing, but I have the ability to make it better. Like, I can make it better. I can do that better. It doesn't have to be this way. It could be better, and I'm going to build it. So having an optimistic pessimism kind of mindset, being able to have tough conversations, be able to ask critical questions, and then also I think just recognizing that you have to put in work. It still requires work. Being open and willing to raise your hand and do the work is going to be hugely beneficial.
That's great.
Throughout your career, we know you've been surrounded by a lot of really awesome and cool people. Yeah. Do you have any role models or mentors that you had throughout your career, or maybe peers that you looked up to?
Yeah, I mean, so many. I think it's important to surround yourself with a village. It's important to have individuals that can advocate for you, can help give you different perspectives, and maybe check you too, like if you're going down a different path, or like kind of going down some avenue that might not be the best use of your time. My bosses have all been supportive. I've had great peers that I work with that I can kind of bounce ideas off of. Family has been hugely critical. But one thing that I will say too is that I've also learned how to advocate for myself. And I think that that's something that's really important also. Because even if you have a great, amazingly supportive boss, which I have most of the time, in most of my experiences, no one's like trying to sabotage me or get in my way. But even if you have a great supportive boss, their job is to do their job. It's not to help elevate you. Although good ones will, but that's not their full focus. So you have to be fully focused on advocating for yourself in your role. And one thing that I'm trying to do better of is sharing successes, because you do a lot of work behind the scenes that people oftentimes don't see. And so you need to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to share successes. Like I said, you need to raise your hand and put yourself out there for opportunities, because no one else is going to do that for you.
That's great. One question we always like to ask our guests is, if you could go back to your 21-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, a lot of advice. Don't date that person. Just kidding. I think I talked about getting involved. I think that really matters. One thing that I was, I think, struggling with in my early 20s was I felt that I should have a higher level job than I was in. I thought that I should be maybe 3 steps ahead in my career. And I was kind of measuring my success in my early 20s to where I think realistically would have been like where I could get to in my early 30s. And I was impatient, and I didn't understand why I wasn't in a higher level job or having higher level responsibilities. And so it took a lot of time and reflection to recognize that all the things that I was doing were setting me up to get there. But I was so hard on myself and so kind of upset and angry and frustrated and depressed, and recognizing like I don't have a management level role, or I don't have a director level role in my early 20s, which now seems ridiculous. But genuinely, I was frustrated. I'm like, I've got a great college degree. I'm pursuing grad school. Well, in my 21, I wasn't pursuing grad school yet, but I got my MBA, and I'm like, why am I not getting these jobs? I'm so qualified. But I felt that I needed to be a little bit more gentle on myself, and recognizing that I was doing all the things to get me there. I was building a network. I was pursuing higher education. I was volunteering and serving on advisory committees and doing everything that I could. So I think I missed out on enjoying the journey to an extent when I was a little bit younger, because I felt like I had to rush. I graduated undergraduate when I was 21, actually. I graduated a year early because I went all the way through summer. Like, I took all summer classes, full schedule. I had all kinds of international baccalaureate and AP classes that I went in with. So I didn't really have a full 4 years. And I wish that I had. I didn't need to rush. I think I just wanted to start working and getting money and climbing the ladder and being like this boss. And I wish that I had taken a little bit of time to enjoy my early 20s, enjoy education, spend more time getting to know my professors. I didn't do any of that. So when time came to then ask for a letter of recommendation for grad school, I'm like, who am I going to reach out to? Maybe I'll reach out to my communication professor that I really enjoyed her classes and took a few, but she has no idea who the heck I am at that point. So I had to be like, hey, you might not remember me, but can I get a letter of rec? It was very awkward. So I wish that I had taken the time to just enjoy the journey, take more advantage of the opportunities I had. I'm never going to get to do an undergraduate degree again. So I missed that opportunity when I was in undergrad. Even when I was in grad school, I don't feel like I was fully invested in enjoying the process and meeting my cohort and, being a grad student. I was working, I was just trying to hustle and be quick and efficient and climbing the ladder. So I wish that I had done things a little bit differently.
Like reflecting more often and kind of living in the moment instead of like looking too far ahead.
Living in the moment and taking full advantage of everything that I had in that part of my life, in that stage of my life.
All the resources and everything.
And then also being more gentle with myself and not being too hard on myself for not having achieved what I thought that I should have achieved by that time. Because that was unrealistic of me, quite frankly. I got there. I'm in a great role. I love what I do. I have a great family and a awesome career. And so I got there. I didn't need to, there's no way anyone would have hired me for this job when I was in my 20s. I had to do the work. I had to learn and experience and build my skills and build myself as a professional.
That's great.
It's awesome. I think we're close on time.
33 minutes.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
You can close it out.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. You offered a lot of great advice and stories, and it was really fun listening from you.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. This was great.
Thank you.
And before we close out, thank you everyone for watching our next episode or this episode of Tenn Talk. And we drop episodes every Wednesday at 1 p.m. and we're released on YouTube and Spotify. So check us out.
Thank you.
Thank you.